Good morning. Welcome to New Center Maine's Political Brew. Glad you could be with us. Joining us this morning, our former Democratic state senator and mayor of the city of Portland, Ethan Strimling, and former Republican state senator Phil Harriman. Gentlemen, good to see you as always.
Good morning, Pat. Hey, Phil, you ever been on TV with a Hall of Famer before?
This morning I have been.
Yeah, Pat Callahan in like the silver circle of the National Hall of Fame for Emmys.
Yes,
congratulations, my friend.
Yeah, that's nice. Thanks very much. Well, let's get down to business and see if we can't keep our track record going. As every county in Maine sets records for active cases of coronavirus, and of course with the holidays upon us, Governor Mills has imposed a 9 p.m. curfew on many businesses, such as bars and restaurants that have sit-down service. It is something the neighboring states have also been doing, but Mills stopped short of issuing a stay-at-home order. Ethan, should she still consider doing that?
Yes, she should. She needs to go further. This is just going to get worse. She needs to go back to what we did in the spring. If you are an essential business, you can stay open. Otherwise, do not. If you are an essential employee, then go to work. Otherwise, you should stay home. Look, the only reason she's given that she's not doing it is because the federal government has not stepped up and done its job. Of course, it's awful what the federal government has not done. But we should not be using that as an excuse to put people's lives at risk, especially workers. And I think if she does a stay-at-home order, it puts more pressure on the federal government to come through with the resources.
What do you think, Phil?
Well, I think the governor has made the right choice with the delicate balance. We, the people, have to take responsibility for washing our hands, wearing masks, keeping our distances. That's the best thing that we can do. And to say, well, some people are essential, so they must go to work and other people aren't, is trying to pick winners and losers in the midst of a mantra that has been, we're all in this together. We haven't been in this together.
Well, Phil, as Ethan mentioned, the options for helping Maine people and businesses by the state are limited because the feds have yet to come up with a new stimulus package. Senator Susan Collins tells us this past week an outline is being discussed, and she, of course, wants something done before Christmas. But really, isn't that up to Mitch McConnell, the Republican leader? And can Collins influence her caucus?
Oh, there's no question she can influence her caucus, but you've left out an important piece, Pat, and that is the House of Representatives led by Nancy Pelosi. It's been McConnell and Pelosi that haven't been able to come together. I'm hearing this was as of mid-afternoon on Friday that Speaker Pelosi has indicated that there's a bipartisan solution. Let's get to it.
Yeah, look, there's been a bipartisan solution forever on this. And the problem is the Republicans in the Senate have not been able to pass anything. They're the ones that have to step up. And I think Susan Collins is right at the center of this. She does have the seniority. She talks about her influence. All she really needs to do is get a couple of her colleagues to say, we are going to pass what it is that the House is looking to get done or come to some compromise. But it has to happen. You know, the fact that the governor of the state of Maine is not able to take steps that will save lives, right? This is not about choosing sides. We're all in this together. We have to save lives. And she's saying she can't do it because the federal government is not providing the resources we need. The workers in the state of Maine have got to be protected. This is just not a sustainable path.
Now, Portland city officials put off implementation of hazard pay approved by city voters earlier this month. Ethan, you're the mayor of Portland. Can they really do that?
No, actually, they can't. You know, it's become a little bit of a banana republic down here. Look, the people were very clear. 62% said we want this put in place. The law was very clear. The intent was very clear. And really what the city council did was kind of the worst of all worlds. They're now forcing workers to have to sue employers in order to get their benefits. And employers, they're saying, hey, you know, if you don't impose the hazard pay, which we're kind of saying you might not have to, but if you lose in court, you could be responsible for serious damages, including lawyers' fees. Just the wrong answer all around. Hopefully they will reverse course soon.
Phil, as Ethan says, it seems the intention of the voters was clear.
Oh, the intention of the voters was crystal clear, but I would remind everyone that those who wrote this new ordinance in the city of Portland obviously weren't very clear because the legal minds who looked at it are disagreeing. And so now it's either the city council of Portland who should prepare the clarifying language and put it out there for a vote, or this is going to end up in a litigious environment. And small businesses in Maine are struggling enough already than to deal with this.
All right. And finally, in this segment, let's talk about something at the State House. To the victor go the spoils. Democrats will elect constitutional officers, including Secretary of State and Attorney General. Phil, is letting the majority in the legislature still the best way to fill those posts?
Yeah, I think it is. To have more, you'd have the state auditor out there as well running a campaign. I think Maine people have had enough of elected campaigns. That this has been the way the legislature has operated from the beginning, and it doesn't look pretty at times, but it works.
What do you think, Ethan?
Yeah, not the right way to do it. We really should have a more public process. Look, as Phil knows, what's going on right now is a lot of backroom conversations that nobody in the public is aware of in terms of folks who are running for Secretary of State in particular, because that's the most contested seat, making promises and whatnot, same as sort of leadership races. Our AG should be publicly elected. Our Secretary of State should be publicly elected. You know, the treasurer and the auditor perhaps appointed by the governor so that there's somebody who's accountable to be able to do something if something goes wrong in those positions. But putting this in the backroom deals of the legislature, it's the one time actually when I was in the Senate, I actually voted with the Republicans on this because they were united, because Democrats had been running the legislature forever and appointing the seats. So they wanted it to go to public vote, and I agreed with them. I got the hairy eyeball from my leadership.
Yeah, you did. Bet you did. Let's turn our eyes to the Capitol and ask ourselves, what will Jared Golden do? Our 2nd District Congressman, a Democrat, has said he will not support Nancy Pelosi for Speaker. He did not do so 2 years ago either. But the House Democratic Caucus is somewhat smaller. Ethan, it's your party. Let me ask you, is Jared Golden going to be pressured to support Nancy Pelosi this time?
Yeah, he sure will, and I hope he does. You know, disappointing. I understand last time the vote didn't really matter. It's kind of what he had said to the voters. But Nancy's proved herself to be a very effective speaker, done a very good job for the entire country and also Maine in terms of the legislation that she's been willing to get through. So I hope that he does the right thing and supports her. If he doesn't want to support her in the caucus, totally get that. But if coming to the floor, he actually takes a vote that could put a Republican in charge of the House, woof, that would not be forgiven for a long time.
As you have a different take on this, Phil.
Yeah, you know, this is one of these insider conversations that we were having in the first segment of Political Brew. This is an opportunity for Jared Golden to walk the walk and talk the talk, as he said he would not support her. And I have a lot of respect for his willingness to buck his own party. I doubt his vote is going to matter outside of the 2nd District, but it certainly does in the 2nd District.
Yeah, I tell you what, I'd make a trade-off, Phil. What if he says he won't vote for Nancy and Susan says she won't vote for Mitch? Will you take that trade?
Sure, because I think the Republicans will have 2-seat advantage in the Senate, so McConnell will still stay.
Not only be one with Georgia, baby. Well, maybe 2.
We shall see. We'll be talking a lot about that into January. Here's a question that I think a lot of people have been asking, and that's about the White House. Where is President Trump? The nation is in crisis, and he seems to have dropped off the radar, apart from a lot of tweets about unsubstantiated voter fraud. Phil, reporters have not been able to ask him questions for a couple of weeks. He has not addressed the public in any substantive way about what's going on here.
Boy, I wish he had done that starting 4 years ago and just stuck to doing his job. I think the president finally has been reminded that through this process of trying to prove that the election was not fair and that he actually won, he needs to let his lawyers do the talking for him. And finally, it appears as though he's doing that.
Do you think he's doing the job? That's what's going on here?
Well, I was going to say, as it relates to the rollout of the vaccine, which is probably the most important conversation going on in America, yeah, they are doing the job.
Yeah, I mean, that's the problem. You asked the perfect question, Pat, and, you know, he's not doing his job. That's the problem. It's not that he isn't seen. He's been out golfing, and he's simply not. If he was behind the scenes right now saying, look, I'm providing all the transition resources that Joe Biden needs, and I'm going to be just working quietly behind the scenes to make sure that I can get everything done before I go, great. But clearly that's not what's going on, and he's just grousing and yelling at his staff and telling his lawyers to do whatever they do, and calling Michigan election officials, trying to get them to flip their votes. So he's not serving the American people at all right now.
Also in Washington, Massachusetts Senator Elizabeth Warren, former presidential candidate, is urging President-elect Biden to cancel student debt when he gets into office, calling it the single biggest stimulus that we could add. Ethan, is that a good idea? Is it a practical idea?
It is a good idea, and it is a practical idea, and he can do it through executive order, and he should. It would be a huge stimulus for the economy. Look, I'm somebody that had student debt. I had to pay it back. I did it slowly but surely, and I absolutely 100% support him just forgiving as much of the debt as possible. College today is absurdly expensive. You can means test it and say, look, we're going to trim the debt for those who are making less than $50,000 or $100,000 a year, leave it in place for those who are making more. But absolutely huge stimulus, very needed, would help the next generation.
Phil?
I see it very differently, Pat. This is for those of us who put kids through college. Like Ethan, I had a significant student loan when I graduated. I paid it back. The notion that somehow through a political act you're going to wipe out someone's debt and responsibility sends the wrong message to the generations behind who paid their own way, and it sends a message of expectations for future generations. If the cost of higher education is the problem, that's where we ought to go focus our attention, rather than letting students borrow money that they cannot afford to pay based on the job that they may receive. That's where those conversations need to take place. Are you going to be able to find a job that will earn you enough money to sustain your lifestyle and repay this debt?
But you can do both. I mean, you can focus on the cost of education, focus on the economy, and try to make sure that those who are just buried get unburied.
All right, let's wrap it up with our winners and losers in politics this week. Phil, we'll let you go first.
Oh, thanks, Pat. And again, congratulations on your 25th recognition of being in our profession. The loser of the week this week for me is the people at the Tyson food plant in Iowa who were taking bets on how many employees would contract the coronavirus. They are losers in my mind. The winners this week are everybody in Washington who's been associated with the operation to bring forward the vaccine and get it delivered. This is amazing what America has done in less than 9 months, found a vaccine, and they're ready to roll out them to the public. Simply winners.
All right, and Ethan.
Wow, I agree with both of his winners and losers. A good job. The couple that I have, couple of winners, I'd say the Georgia Secretary of State, big winner down there, standing up to his own party, doing what's right in terms of elections. Another winner here at home that I don't think gets a lot of mention is actually Senate President Troy Jackson. This guy got into leadership a few years ago, and every year that he's been in leadership has been able to expand the Democratic majority. I think for Democrats, we ought to look to him to understand how is it that he's done that, because it's really been remarkable. On the loser side, I would say the Republicans who are not standing up to Donald Trump. I can't even put Donald Trump in there at the moment because he's so far gone, but Republican leadership not standing up to him, just losers.
Ethan Strimling, Phil Harriman, thanks as always for being with us. Appreciate it. Thank you for being with us as well. We'll see you next time. News Center Maine is back after this.